Hey, friends, I'm coming to you with another topic, some advice that hopefully will be very beneficial to you. And the topic of this video is dating can kill you. That's right, it's not a joke, it's a serious topic. Dating can kill you. Some years ago, when I first finished my undergraduate degree in California, it was a degree in computer science. I couldn't right away get a job in my field. It took me some little time to do that. And so in the interim, I took a job working for one of the large police departments on the West Coast in California. And after I finished my police academy and training for the position that I was to take, they assigned me to work with different beat cops, police officers that worked in the field. And one of the first police officers I worked with, he was a former New York City police officer, now working in the San Francisco Bay Area for the Oakland, California Police Department. And one of the first calls, I had to go on with him because I had to ride along with him or whichever officer they assigned me to train with. It was a night shift, it's late at night, and we got this urgent call from police dispatch to go over to an area that was not too far from Jack London Square, which is a touristy, nice area. And it was like a parking lot or a park right there on the waterfront in Oakland. And when we got there, what it was is there was a young woman who was barely hanging on to life. The situation that had got her to that point was she was on a date or hanging out, kicking it with somebody in a car at night in a secluded location. And at one point, apparently, she wanted to leave the situation, and the person or persons she was with didn't want her to leave. So while this car was actually in motion, moving, and she's trying to get out of the car and trying to get away from the situation, part of her clothing or person apparently caught on the car, and then she's partly out of an open door while she's trying to get out of a moving vehicle and get away from the situation. And the person driving the car would not stop the vehicle. And so she was dragged for I don't know how long, and it just ended up injuring her so severely. Um, when she got loose, or they cast her out of the car totally, they took off, they left, and they left the young woman there just half dead. And so someone must have called the police or something. And when we got there, because this was part of the beat that the officer I was riding with at that night, it's part of his beat. So when he got there, she was literally half dead. And the ambulance got there and took her up to the county hospital. And I had to go up to the county hospital with the officer that I was riding along with because he had to deal with whatever paperwork and everything for the report and stuff. And so while he was taking care of whatever business, I was just standing there watching as the medical professionals, emergency team, they were working on this young woman with all of the equipment and everything. And as I can't stress enough, I was really just green, fresh out of the police academy. And I'm watching while they're working on this young woman. It's between life and death. And they worked on her for, I don't know, it seemed, I don't know how long they worked on it. I was just kind of in shock. And they did the best they could. They had this thing on her that I guess they put on you to try to squeeze your legs and your lower part of you so that I guess your blood will maintain the pressure or whatever. So they did everything they could do. But she did, while I was standing there watching, she did die. And that really left an impression on me as well as other things I saw as I worked for the police department, that it's really a dangerous idea when you're going out on a date, with someone and you decide to go off somewhere secluded, whether it be a park or in the woods or hanging out in a parking lot, going off somewhere, or even going to someone's apartment, and you're just gonna hang out there with them, I don't recommend you do it. Keep yourself in a public place, and really, what some people say is, have your own transportation. Maybe meet the person at the restaurant. These are not bad ideas, so that you have transportation. You're not off in a secluded location, because it literally may save your life. Another incident I'll tell you about. After I had finished my field training working with police officers, they would send me out on night shift at night alone. And one night I was sitting parked, and that night shift, it was brutal for me because I struggled trying to stay awake. It was tough. And if it was a cold night and I had the heater on, that just made my struggle even worse. So one night I was parked in my police vehicle and struggling, against sleep. I was startled out of my wits because all of a sudden, right to the left at my window, there was a woman frantic knocking on my window, and it basically shocked me totally awake. And I rolled down the window a little bit to find out what was going on. And this young woman, she's probably in her 30s, well-dressed, attractive woman, and she began to relay to me how she went on a date with some guy, and I guess at the end of the date, he wouldn't let her leave. He held her against her will, basically kidnapped her for 2 or 3 days. And she was saying that he was forcing her to do all sorts of things. And kidnap, I believe, is a federal offense, and then sexual assault, both those things that were above what my position allowed me to actually deal with. But just, out of compassion, I, felt I needed to get this woman some help. So I radioed on my police radio to headquarters, to dispatch, so that they could get somebody to help this lady that was, as she relayed, escaped from this guy who had her hostage for, days. And so police headquarters did send someone, and I eventually, left the scene, after having headquarters telling them to, secure some help for the lady. And the officer who had been assigned to help deal with this lady eventually got a hold of me. Now, before I continue, let me say there are a lot of good police officers, but with any profession, there is good and then there's bad. And unfortunately, the police officer assigned to deal with this lady was less than desirable, because what he told me, I think the guy was just either lazy, inconsiderate, non-compassionate. What he told me was, well, I should have, or in that situation, just send her off to call police headquarters herself and contact them himself. And, here, let me make this point to you. So you sometimes cannot even rely on the police to assist you. Again, there are a lot of great police officers, but some are not so good. So I think the best tactic is don't let yourself be in a secluded situation off somewhere with someone. Now, sometimes you can date a person for a while and you think you know them, but you still have to keep your wits about you. Because there was this one call they sent me to where a guy had taken his girlfriend hostage. He had gotten angry with some people over a deal he was making with them. He was selling them something, and the deal went sour, and he got so angry that he killed up a bunch of people. Basically, he mass murdered a bunch of people, then decided to take his girlfriend hostage. So you can't, to even get to know a person, it takes time. And even then, you shouldn't totally trust them, because you can find that that decision can end you up in a very difficult, dangerous situation. And this is not just to women. Men, you need to be careful about, sometimes women with ulterior motives will try to pressure you to get you off into some secluded location. I know, as a Christian young man, I was dating this lady who claimed to be a Christian, and she was trying to get me alone off in her apartment, and me as a Christian young man trying to maintain, respect for her. I would, if I didn't meet her somewhere, we'd meet up, or I would pick her up. I'd, wait for her outside and let her, come out of her apartment. And apparently, she was unhappy with that. And as I understand, even relayed my, trying to show her consideration to her mother. And her mother, as I heard it, was angry. And so, you got to wonder, why is a woman just so anxious to get you up in her apartment, Christian man? It can't be, anything good that she's trying to pressure you to do that. Well, here's my analysis with this particular situation. She had already had children by different men, and she, even after we broke up, continued to be impregnated by different men. Sometimes women are collecting baby daddies as a source of income. Now, maybe that's not, the situation you're dealing with, but I'm going to tell you, man, it's just, there's all sorts of things that can happen that if you just allow yourself to be, pressured or led, by quote unquote Christian women that want to get you off to yourself, don't do it. Don't do it. It can have long-term ramifications. So anyway, that's my tip. Don't be off in secluded locations, because dating can kill you, or other dangerous things or negative things can happen to you.